In the summer of 1587, a group of over 100 English settlers sailed into the treacherous, misty waters of Roanoke Island, off the coast of modern-day North Carolina. They were looking for a fresh start, a chance to build a permanent English foothold in a new world. But they had no idea that they were stepping directly into the pages of history's most terrifying vanishing act. Led by Governor John White, the pioneers quickly set to work. They cleared land, built rustic wooden cabins, and erected a massive protective palisade fence to keep the unknown dangers of the deep American wilderness at bay. Yet, from the very beginning, a suffocating sense of anxiety hung over the colony as the dark woods seemed to watch their every move. The harsh reality of the New World soon set in. Crops failed to grow, relations with local tribes soured, and their food warehouses quickly emptied. As winter approached, the settlers found themselves facing absolute starvation. Desperation filled the dimly lit cabins as families realized they would not survive without immediate help from across the ocean. With no other choice left, Governor John White made a heartbreaking decision. He agreed to sail back to England to gather urgent supplies and reinforcements. Standing on the rocky shoreline, he said a tearful goodbye to his daughter and granddaughter, promising to return as fast as the winds could carry him. He left behind 115 souls waiting on that lonely shore. But fate had other plans. Just as White arrived in England, a massive war erupted with the Spanish Armada. The Queen seized every available ship for the war effort, leaving White stranded in London for 3 agonizing years. Every single rainy night, he stood on the docks, staring across the Atlantic, wondering if his family was still alive. Finally, in August of 1590, the war ended, and John White returned to Roanoke Island. The air was cold, and an eerie silence gripped the shoreline as his heavily armed soldiers stepped off the boats. The wild forest had begun to reclaim the coast, and a chilling sense of dread filled the landing party. As they marched into the settlement, they gasped at the sight. The colony was completely empty. But it wasn't just deserted, it was dismantled. The wooden houses hadn't been burned or destroyed by an enemy. They had been carefully taken down and removed. Roanoke had transformed into a ghost town, with no human life in sight. The soldiers searched the overgrown plots of land for clues, expecting to find the aftermath of a brutal massacre. Instead, they found rusted armor and personal belongings scattered on the ground, untouched. There were no bloodstains, no signs of fire, and absolutely no evidence of a struggle. It was as if an entire community had simply evaporated into thin air. Then, John White discovered the first real clue. Carved deeply and clearly into a prominent wooden post of the fort's entrance was a single word in all capital letters: Croatoan. White's trembling hand touched the fresh bark. Was it a message of hope, a destination, or a final, desperate warning left behind by the vanished? Searching further into the shadowy woods, the search party found another clue that sent shivers down their spines. On a nearby tree trunk, someone had hastily carved just 3 letters: Zero. It looked as though the carver was interrupted in a moment of extreme panic, leaving the message forever incomplete. For over 4 centuries, historians have argued over what happened next. The most violent theory suggests that despite the lack of a blood-stained battlefield, the colonists were stealthily ambushed and massacred by a hostile tribe emerging from the thick mist of the deep woods, leaving their spirits to haunt the island forever. However, a more peaceful theory offers a glint of hope. Croatoan was the name of a nearby friendly island and its native inhabitants. Many believe that facing starvation, the English settlers willingly abandoned their fort and integrated into the native tribe, learning their ways, marrying into their families, and slowly blending into American history. A darker alternative suggests that as the years dragged on, the colonists lost all hope of John White ever returning. In a final desperate bid to save themselves, they built crude wooden rafts out of their dismantled homes and attempted to sail back to England, only to be swallowed whole by a violent midnight storm at sea.
Yet, because the evidence is so bizarrely clean, the internet and American folklore are flooded with supernatural theories. From ancient native curses and paranormal entities in the woods to extraterrestrial abductions, the absolute lack of bodies has turned Roanoke into the ultimate sandbox for dark, unexplained mysteries. Today, the true fate of the lost colony of Roanoke remains the oldest unsolved mystery in American history. The trees still whisper, but they hold their secrets tight. What do you believe happened to the 115 souls who vanished without a trace? Leave your theory in the comments below, hit that like button, and follow Misterios del Pasado for more chilling historical enigmas. See you in the next video.